2006 was a big and important year for Nintendo. The Nintendo GameCube had sold below expectations and was generally considered a flop, so all hopes were now on the new console, the Nintendo Wii. But the Wii was anything but a normal gaming platform. It aimed to redefine video games and entertainment. Traditional button inputs were expanded with motion controls, making the Wii remote look different from an ordinary controller. To introduce this concept to players, one particular game was of great importance: Wii Sports. Wii Sports was actually a very simple game, but that simplicity was exactly what made it so important. Across 5 sports: tennis, baseball, bowling, golf and boxing, people were meant to learn in a fun and intuitive way just how cool motion controls could be for video games. For example, in tennis, you performed the swing motion with your arm, while in bowling you mimicked the act of throwing the ball. The game was perfectly suited for both solo and multiplayer action. It offered challenges that worked well for single-player sessions, while multiplayer added a whole new level of fun. I mean, honestly, multiplayer bowling was always peak. Since the game was released in 2006, however, it did not feature any online matches, so you were completely dependent on playing it with friends or family, which is actually a bit of a shame considering the console itself did have online functionality. From today's standards, the motion controls were actually quite inaccurate, but they were good enough to convince people of the concept immediately. When the Nintendo Wii launched in November 2006, bundled with Wii Sports, it was an immense success. I'm not exaggerating when I say that everyone wanted a Wii, and for roughly the first 12 to 18 months, the console was sold out almost anywhere in the world. This was also the era that introduced the iconic Miis, which even now remain an important part of Nintendo's identity. Wii Sports was simply the perfect gateway into the Wii era, and in many ways it had a major influence on the whole gaming industry for years afterwards. Due to the huge success of both the Wii and Wii Sports, Sony and Microsoft also began to heavily invest in motion controls. In 2010, Sony released the PlayStation Move controllers, while Microsoft launched the Kinect. They may have both been 4 years too late, but they were still successful anyway. What had initially been Nintendo's risky bet on a new concept quickly became the defining feature of an entire gaming generation. But the story didn't end with Wii Sports. Because the game was an incredible hit and the console quickly became a must-have family console, Nintendo saw the potential for a sequel. Because as great as Wii Sports may have been, it only included 5 sports, and the underlying technology was evolving rapidly. As a result, Wii Sports Resort was released in 2009. It was a full-fledged sequel that added 10 new sports and activities, while retaining golf and bowling. The new additions were swordplay, wakeboarding, frisbee, archery, basketball, table tennis, power cruising, canoeing, cycling and air sports. Tennis, baseball and boxing were therefore gone, but since virtually everyone already owned the first game, that wasn't really an issue. One thing I really love about Wii Sports Resort is that, thanks to its aesthetic style and the activities it offers, it genuinely feels like a vacation. The game expanded the original Wii Sports quite a bit, and I especially enjoyed some of the new activities, particularly swordplay and table tennis. However, Wii Sports Resort served another important purpose. It introduced the new Wii Motion Plus accessory. Wii Motion Plus significantly improved motion controls, making them much more accurate. While motion controls had previously felt very inaccurate, players could now perform much more precise movements. That's why activities such as archery and frisbee, which needed much greater accuracy, were included in the game. The game felt like a smart evolution of the original concept, and players responded very positively. With 33 million copies sold, it became the 3rd best-selling game of the Wii era, even though it was bundled with the Wii for a while too. Unfortunately, this is where the story becomes rather depressing. Despite the Wii Sports series having such a strong start and creating so many great memories for the players, the franchise declined significantly afterwards. Following the Wii came the Wii U, which introduced an entirely new concept. While the console still supported motion controls, its major selling point was the Wii U gamepad. The focus shifted somewhat away from motion controls and towards second screen features. Nevertheless, Nintendo wanted to continue the Wii Sports series, and so in July 2014, the long-awaited next game arrived: Wii Sports Club. The game was incredibly strange because it was a remake of the original Wii Sports game. It therefore only included the 5 sports sports from the first game: tennis, baseball, bowling, golf and boxing. And to make it even worse, not even all of these sports were available at launch, because initially the game only included tennis and bowling. The monetization was also weird. Originally, it was released as a digital download on the eShop. Players could download the game for free and then choose between paying $10 for a single sport, meaning $50 for all 5 sports, or purchasing a day pass that granted access to the entire game for 24 hours for $2. I wasn't really a fan of both options. Hardly anyone was willing to spend $50 on the game when they already owned the original Wii Sports, and the day pass felt like an even worse option. Fortunately, a normal retail version was released later on, but in the end, the game was essentially just the original Wii Sports game in HD with online functionality. There were also a few additional improvements, such as more accurate motion controls thanks to Wii Motion Plus support and Miiverse integration, but I never felt that those additions justified the price tag. I still don't understand why this game needed a remake in the first place, when practically everyone already owned the original game. On top of that, going back to just 5 sports after Wii Sports Resort was pretty disappointing. Sure, online play and Wii Motion Plus support were nice additions, but those features could just as easily have been implemented years earlier as an update to the first game. Things somewhat improved with the Switch entry, which appropriately was called Nintendo Switch Sports. The game launched in April 2022 and included 6 sports: tennis, bowling, chambara, which is essentially just sword fighting, soccer/football, volleyball and badminton. Later updates added golf and basketball too. One major difference was that the focus was no longer on Miis, but on the so-called sportsmates. These characters essentially became the new protagonists of the series. As a result, promotional material for the game generally features sportsmates rather than Miis, although the Miis were playable too. Opinions on the sportsmates are divided. Some people see them as a good evolution of the Miis, while others feel they completely lack the charm that made Miis so memorable in the first place. Personally, I don't really have anything against them, and anyone who prefers using Miis can simply use them anyway. Nintendo Switch Sports was definitely a better entry than the Wii U game. The new sports were generally well implemented, and I was actually surprised how much fun I had playing volleyball with others. But when I think about whether the game was actually worth its asking price, my answer is a clear no. A lot of the game consists of recycled content from previous entries, and there's nothing wrong with that, as long as there's enough new stuff to justify it. But that's not really the case. I also wasn't a fan of golf and basketball being added only later through updates, because at launch the game simply didn't have all that much content. The game was still an enormous commercial success, and honestly, I almost find it disappointing that so little effort was rewarded so much. And then, last week, they announced the next installment, Switch Sports Resort. The game launches in October and includes 12 activities: boxing, table tennis, archery, tennis, volleyball, bowling, basketball, golf, thumb wrestling, skateboarding, power cruising and prop plane. Most of that is recycled content yet again, and I don't even think the new additions look particularly exciting. I mean, honestly, thumb wrestling looks like the kind of thing you'd play for 5 minutes and then never again. To me, it feels like the series is standing still and not evolving at all. Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort were genuinely creative and innovative games, but that was nearly 20 years ago. Instead of taking Wii Sports Resort as a foundation and building upon it by adding more activities, Nintendo seems to be doing the bare minimum. I think the series deserves better. For example, I would have loved to see a winter-themed sports resort, featuring activities such as ice hockey, snowboarding, or similar winter sports. It would have changed the game from a summer vacation to a winter vacation, giving it an identity of its own. At the very least, I would have found it far more interesting than thumb wrestling. For many people, Wii Sports was a defining gaming experience, and the series as a whole has remained incredibly successful ever since. Yet very little of that success seems reflected in the gameplay of the newer entries. I absolutely loved the first 2 games, but I feel virtually no excitement for Switch Sports Resort. Wii Sports deserved better.